Oh, hi. Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, depending on where you're watching us from. Yeah. Right. How is everyone doing? Good evening. Good evening. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for joining in. Please, as you're coming in, just be nice enough to just click the share button and let us just invite our friends to join us. Mm, yes. What I'm doing. Right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone. Shout out to all our YouTube audience, all our YouTube viewers, all those who viewing us from Twitter and YouTube. Thank you all for joining. Good evening, everyone. Ẹ̀gbọ́n Báyọ̀lá, ẹ ǹlẹ́ o. Mr. Godwin, how are you doing, sir? Ẹ kàn dájọ́ o, California ẹ̀ tó wà kò dábẹ́. Kò dábẹ́. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on what part of the world you're watching us from. This is Chat Room with the King one more time. My name is Victor King, and I'm privileged to be your host. And today is a special one, and we have joining us on the show today. You know when Yoruba people say, "Oh, do teach me that Yoruba." You guys, I'm not a Yoruba person. I'm still trying to improve my Yoruba speaking. Oh, do ni one way Thank you. Someone whom it's an household name already. If you don't know uh, anything in Nigeria, you definitely know Omoyele Sowore. You know Sarah reporters. You know that has been on a consistent basis an household name. You know in Nigerian politics, and very importantly in the last election, which has left the rest of us wondering where we are and where we are going. And so today we are very I'm personally excited to have him join us in the chat room. Please, as you're joining me, please click the share button. Let us invite our friends. The page is kind of limited now. My main page, I don't know what is wrong with it. I've been trying to be nice lately, but oh, all right. So we have with us joining us today an household name. Okay, yeah, I just received signal from him. I think he's here already. Our guest in the chat room today, Mr. Muiwa, I know you will like this show. You like political issues. Our guest in the house today is Mr. Omoyele Sowore. I'll read a little bit about him. I think I shared it in the morning. Born in Ondo State, Southwest Nigeria. Was born on the 16th February 1971 in Niger Delta region. Was raised in the polygamous home with 16 children. At 12, he learned how to ride a motorcycle so that he could fish at the lake for the family before going to school. The military rule in Nigeria affected his passions and desire for media. Sowore studied geography and planning at the University of Lagos from 1989 to 1995. He spent 2 extra years in the university because of political reasons and his student activism. He was the president of the University of Lagos Student Union Government between 1992 and 1994, where he was actively taking against cultism and corruption. He holds a master's degree in public administration from the University of Columbia. Sowore started Sarah Reporters in a small room in Manhattan, 2006, to fight against corrupt and wrong government practices. Cybertars is supported by grants donated by Ford Foundations and Familiar Foundation. The medium does not accept adverts and financial support from Nigerian government. On February 25th, 2018, Mr. Omoyele announced his intention to run for president in the 2019 Nigeria general election. So we have in the house today to talk extensively to us. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me and welcome no other than Mr. Omoyele. Please help me welcome him. Good afternoon, good evening, sir. I think it's evening and it's 5 o'clock, right? Good evening, sir. Can you hear me? Is the audio? Can you hear me, sir? I think there's something with the audio. Yeah. That's to be from that hand. Can you guys hear me? So that we know what's up. Let me first see the microphone here, so I'm sure it's not from my hand. Okay, the audio is kind of good here. I can hear you, but the volume is very low. I don't think people will hear you. Let me look at it from the other hand.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay, very good.
Perfect now.
All right, let me put my earpiece in. Can you hear me?
Very well, sir.
All right, thank you so much. I think I can hear you better now as well.
Okay. So good afternoon, sir. Good evening. It's such a privilege to have you in this chat room. I think we've been having to talk about politics for a while now, going by the reason of happenings and events that is keeping everybody to wonder. We've never been this confused as a nation. And, having somebody who has been a frontliner in the politics way back in the days of SDP and NRC is we felt it is resourceful to have someone like you. We're privileged today, and I just want to say thank you for that. Now,
thank you for bringing me here.
Is such. Let us start from the person, the man Omoyele Sowore. People know you too. People say, so once we start making publicity, yes, you say, oh yeah, the most controversial Mr. Sowore. It's been there is I think you used a phrase to define yourself in one of the videos I watched, that you say you're a disruptor, disrupting both the media space, the political arenas, and all of that. So tell us, what is the passion behind this? Mr. Sowore, here and there and there, you seems to be having some kind of energy that is different from what the rest of us have. Seems like, what is behind this?
Well, a number of factors. One of it is history. I grew up in that part of Ondo State, dirt poor, where I had no idea if there was government or not. I grew up without post office, no government presence. And while I was growing up, my only interface was with government was repression, police repression in particular in 1980. You probably have read about it, where our village was invaded by the police and all kinds of things happened to us. So very early in life, you didn't know about government. The first time you heard about government was a terrible, terrible experience. And when we went to the university, at the University of Lagos in 1989, I was there, and of course, Nigeria happened to me. We first had the introduction of the Structural Adjustment Program in 1989, which led to a nationwide protest, even when I wasn't a student. And then came the desire to drive military out of power. Interestingly, the man who was the military president at that time is Babangida. Today is his 80th birthday.
Today,
So,
wow.
yes, today is his 80th birthday. And I had just dropped a message on the Facebook page of Kayode Fayemi because he was wishing him happy birthday. And I said, I'm so shocked that you're doing that because in those days when we were students, Kayode Fayemi and them were in the UK claiming to be pro-democracy activists. And today, 2021, you are wishing Babangida happy birthday. The man ruined the democratic future of Nigeria, to the best of our knowledge. It was one of the most corrupt during our own time. And some 30 years later, to imagine that having been through detention 8 times, twice expelled from the university, and I traveled to the US in 1999. And while I was in the US, I had the opportunity of visiting 30 nations outside of the US, including visiting 46 states of the US. And to come back and consistently feel like things just got worse. Worse. You can imagine how I feel. I don't want to call it passion. I think I was just so disappointed that we haven't had progress since I was conscious as a human being in this country called Nigeria. So when I was 10, my village was invaded. When I was 20, my life was ruined. When I was 30 or thereabout, I left. And when I was 50, I came back to Nigeria when I was about 50, and my world fell apart. I was detained, harassed, beaten. I've been shot at, my nose broken by the police, and all kinds of things have happened to me. So you can imagine how my life is a reflection of how Nigeria hasn't improved. Just me. And if you think of it, my life has been a bit okay. It's better than a lot of lives in this country because I had a chance to travel. I had a chance to marry, have kids abroad. I've seen better life. But then you come back, you imagine that there are people who have never in the 20 years of their lives in this country experienced a flick of electricity.
Wow.
There are graduates who have never been invited for an interview to get a job. You understand? There are some of our parents who have never been to a hospital because they can't afford it. And several other things that people take for granted, basic amenities, are just denied our people. So when you look back and you look at now, this is what people call passion when I refuse to accept that things are not okay. That's what I think you refer to as passion. But it's just natural in every human being to want a better life.
Yeah.
The concept of even heaven, it's a better life. That's why a lot of people look forward to heaven. That day that they will not have to deal with, NEPA, they won't be sick again, they won't have to fight for food, they won't have to deal with paying school fees or not being able to afford it, or the opportunities that's the concept of heaven. But we're not even asking for that. We're asking for what small citizens of smaller countries like Ghana, Senegal, South Africa take for granted. That's all we're asking for here. And each time we ask for it, you get harassed, you get beaten, you get jailed. Some people get killed. So that's what you call passion.
So you see, you said something that has personally that has got me amazed. If it's somebody who have been, predominant in Nigeria the entire time of his life, or somebody who just don't have a choice and is just fighting this cause, it wouldn't be much amazing. But you mentioned somebody like something in your statement that you are the privilege to be out of the country. You are the privilege. Sarah Reporter, for instance, is one of the the first online reporting establishments in Nigeria that really make wave, got the global recognitions and all of that. Someone who have, gotten to that landmark, who can as well. I mean, you're out of Nigeria. You in America. You've established and you've done so well for yourself, and you have the capacity and the capability to do the same for your immediate family. It just, did you ever feel like, the question I'm asking is, going through all of this for the nation, have you ever for once felt that way, or do you have families say to you, do you really think it's worth it? People, I'm sure most people, friends, families must have been, man, don't, man, the Nigeria is not what, because you see, sir, there have been, in history, we have so many people who have stepped out at some point to say something, to try to raise a movement, and just fade into the tin hair. And I'm sure so many people, when when you started during the last election, and this revolutionary movement, people will be like, oh yeah, it's just the same old story. But it seems not. It seems as if, yeah, man, this is a great pressure on the this bad system. Have you ever felt, or do you feel like you've ever had that families who have tells you, do you really think it's worth it? Have you ever thought of it like, man, you know what, it's not worth it. Nigeria is already a hot mess. I'm not gonna lie to you. So there are some things, at some point in my life, I stopped praying for Nigeria because it looks like a waste of time. For two reasons. Not only that I can't see the possibility, because I think I can, I feel like Nigeria are the problem of Nigeria. We can't continue to pray and use ourselves by own self, destroy our nation. So do you ever feel that it's worth it? The stress, the pain, the humiliation, the and then you leave your business and everything that has been a whole fortune that you have created for yourself. Have you ever felt it? Do you have families who say that to you? Is that a concern?
Oh, naturally. um, naturally. Families will say that to you. Friends will say that to you. And sometimes they will show you evidence why they think you're crazy, you know.
Mm,
But yeah, by saying to you, look, you don't have to come back to Nigeria to fight for all these things.
mm,
You know, they'll point to you, Nigerians who don't appreciate what you are doing.
right.
They will say to you what they have lost or what you have lost because you took a position against what could have made you wealthy. When I was in detention, even security agents, DSS people would come to me and say, look, why don't you just let's do a deal? You know, everybody who is here is a wheeler dealer. Get
Mm,
out of detention, make money, and start living large. If you don't want to leave Nigeria, we'll buy you a house, cars. You know, we'll introduce you into the right cycles so that you can make it instead of making noise.
mm,
You know, my mom, while I was in detention, had stroke, and I didn't know. Nobody knew
mm,
until a year later when she fell sick again, and we had to do a scan of her brain, and because her hand was calling, you know, she couldn't carry her hand. And you can imagine that my siblings felt I was the cause of the problem.
of course they
And they
will.
may be right, because my mom had to worry about me every day. Oh, they are going to release him today, they didn't release him tomorrow. She watches TV, she's on Facebook. And one day she just couldn't take it anymore and she lost it. Um, I haven't seen my kids for 2.5 years. I haven't seen my wife for 2.5 years. The business went in different directions. Till today, I don't have a bank account. So our reporter's account was frozen. You understand? But in all of this, do you know what is driving me? It's like, listen, somebody has to do it. And I'm
Mm,
privileged and happy that I could be in a position to challenge naked power.
mm,
You understand?
mm,
And this is what I've always done, even as a young person in the university. So I don't feel bad, but do we suffer? Yes. The other day, Ganifa Wemi's son died, and I was Femi Falana, who is my lawyer, sent me uh, a tribute to him. It turns out that the boy was born when his father was in detention.
mm.
Femi Falana, probably you heard from him one time. He was detained for a long time when FARS, this popular FARS, was born.
Yeah, Faz.
And when he came home, he was asking his mom, "Why did you bring a strange guy to our house.
Whoa.
It's God. The mom is like, "That's your father." I said, "No, that can't be my father. If it's my father, where has it gone all these days or months?" Because when he was growing up, his father was in detention. People have to make sacrifices. You know, the countries that we travel to or would love to be in,
Mm.
people make sacrifices to build those countries. So I think for me, it's a spirit of sacrifice. And secondly, there's a part of me that believes that some of us are just born to carry the can of others. Not necessarily because
Mm.
you entirely want to do it, but because that is your fate to do whatever you are assigned to do in life, in this life. Because otherwise, when I was coming to Nigeria in 2019, when I returned from the US to come and get involved in the revolution now, the first protest I would plan, for some reason I came with a one-way ticket. I couldn't explain to tomorrow why it was a one-way ticket.
Did you feel you are not going to probably make it back?
Yes, it's like I'm not going to make it back. When I was coming, it was the first time in my 20 years
Mm.
in the US that I ever came to Nigeria without a ticket to go back. Reason was that when I was traveling, it was the first stage of the ticket, and when I was coming back. But typically, what I do is before I leave the US, I have a ticket
I'll have a
to
return ticket.
return. So I would have bought a ticket to return, but somehow I didn't buy a ticket. And
Mm.
by the time I landed, somebody just told me I'm going to be here for a while, but I didn't know what. And that's what happened. And I'm still here. If I bought a second ticket by now, it would have expired, except if it's
Mm.
some kind of an
Mm.
expensive ticket that will last for 10 years. I don't know if this exists. But that's just to explain to you that it's multidimensional.
Mm.
But
I
this is
understand
how
this.
I've always
Right.
been, fighting for what my conscience tells me is right.
Mm. I understand the sacrifice. I understand the spirit. See, anybody who has read about you or who know about, I have an uncle who was in Unilag when you were the student union government, and they have a lot to say. And they say, "Oh, if you know him, you know that it's not new." Yeah, so it's like it's an inborn spirit. But you see, going by the terms risk assessment, now it's not about you now. Yeah, we understand. Some people are just born like you, some supermen. But Nigeria, is it worth it? Is it worth
You know,
it?
I don't know. I don't like to answer whether it's worth it or not. But here is how I approach life, whether it's Nigeria or anywhere else. Is there are 200 million people here officially. I don't think Nigeria is more than 100 million people. It's part of the fraud that we
Hmm,
perpetrate on ourselves, just
hmm.
assigning numbers because it's convenient. Nobody has ever done a credible
Who is even
census
doing
here
the matrix? Yeah.
since 1960. My attitude is you have maximum 24.5 million people in Lagos, 25 in Kano and Kaduna combined. Where's the rest of the 150 million? Not
Hmm,
true, you know. But that's a discussion for another symposium in the future. But here is the way I look at it: is that anywhere there's humanity is worth making the sacrifice, because if you don't stand up for anything when you find your place in this kind of place, you're going to fall for something. You can wake up in this country. Everybody in Nigeria today is liable to some kind of painful death because nobody wants to make the sacrifice. Everybody wants to take out of Nigeria and just
hmm,
run away or
hmm,
enjoy their life.
hmm,
But where are we today? Why is everybody is liable to death? Send your children to school. Possibility of them being kidnapped and killed is very high. Travel
hmm,
on our highways. Your possibility of having an accident is very high. Go to a hospital. The possibility of wrong prescription and wrong diagnosis
hmm.
is very high. Fly. The possibility of you
Plenty of
falling
plane
out of the
crash.
sky is very high because nobody cares about how those
Yeah.
airplanes are maintained. You understand? Eat food. The possibility of you buying food that is fake or polluted is very high. Tell me what we do in Nigeria that cannot kill you. I don't know yet. At least recently, I mean these days, anything can possibly kill you. So whether you care about Nigeria or not, it doesn't matter.
You are still affected.
Anything can happen to you.
Hmm.
So yes, it is true that I could escape to the US. Fantastic. But does that make me a better person? if instead of just lounging in the US in a lockdown with my nose mask, with my family, if I could put in some energy, some effort to liberate my homeland, such that even if I don't enjoy Nigeria, the people who are coming behind me will not meet this kind of shambolic Nigeria. My brother, I'm happy to do it, and whatever it will take or it will cost me, I'll do it. Well, doesn't matter whether it is the place we are fighting for is Nigeria or Niger area or Africa or West Africa or Izodudua or IPOB. It doesn't matter. It is that you have humanity that deserves better than what we have now. And anybody who finds himself or herself in this space should do something about it. That for me is my own driving force. So of course, when you start to reduce it to adjectives and verbs and nouns, when you call it Nigeria, well, it becomes a little bit more painful considering that the country could be better if more people have the same kind of mindset and belief as I think I do. If people are less greedy, less wicked, less dishonest, less nepotistic, uh, less bigoted, less nonchalant, and complacent, probably that's better. And that's what people say to you when they say, why do you care about Nigeria? Because the Nigerians you care about don't care about you or don't care about a lot of things. But I cannot engage in blaming people who have been pounded for 60 years not to believe in anything. You can't blame them because the Nigeria you see now wasn't created by the Nigerians you like to blame. It was created by the Nigerians who have governed Nigeria over these years.
That's key.
They created the citizens you are seeing now. They created it deliberately by way of the kind of education we get, the kind of fundamental human rights that you are allowed access to, the kind of religion we have, including, like I like to say, the kind of God, our designer gods that we worship, because I believe that it's Nigerians that designed our own gods. This is not the God that the holy books talk about. So somehow
That's right.
we figure out to design the conditions that we are in now, and it is so well designed that you can't get any other results from Nigeria better than we have now, because this is how it was designed from the beginning, and the people who designed it understand it. The Babangida sitting down today, 80 years old, knowing that he ruined Nigeria, knew what he was doing when he was younger, and he knew that at 80 years, people with little memory will not remember that he's the one who put us in some of these conditions that we're in today. Not him alone. Obasanjo participated, Buhari participated, Jonathan participated, Yar'Adua, Gowon participated. But look at what is an irony about Nigeria. All the terrible guys that have run Nigeria, they live very, very long. But I think Shagari died at the age of 80 something. Buhari is now 80 something. Obasanjo is 80 something. This man there now, Buhari, in real life is 80 something because his sister some 5 years ago was 82. That's his younger sister. So Buhari is like close to 90. This is part of why people think is it worth it to die for Nigeria when these good people in Nigeria die young. Ganifa made 60 something, Fela 50 something. You understand? All the great guys just die young. Yeah, and then the bad guys just live so long, and you're wondering whether it's better to just be a bad guy and live long, or be a good guy, and die young.
Mm, mm, mm. So that's deep. You say something that
Yeah,
are profound. That the white people, they even created a god for us. I've said on this
yeah,
many times.
it's
There
so
was time I
true.
told them that I'm privileged to have done, do a lot of study in theology, and when I growing up, and I realized that we're not practicing Christianity that Bible really, expect. And we look at it from different angles. The concept of marriage, the concept of so many things are just not different. This is just on a light mode. I will give you an instance. I was serving in a church in Nigeria, you know, before I traveled, and one morning, it has always been a law that you have to come to church with tie for you to sing on the altar. So one morning we came to church, it was bad. We actually trekked from, it was Lagos by the expressway traffic. they had the Holy Ghost service in Redeem Camp was, and then MFM had their own, and it was so bad. I've never seen anything like that. 4 of us have to trek from Redeem Camp to Beggar, barefooted in the rain. Our leg messed up. Got home like 3 a.m. midnight and still tried to make it to church on a Sunday morning. So we were not prepared for clothes and all of those things. We just want to still make it to church, wear a shirt and a pants, and we get to church with all this sacrifice. And the pastor pulled us out from the crowd and said, "Look at them. What do they look like?" Say we look like area boy. That how can you come to church without a tie? And I can tell you categorically that it killed every energy. We were so harassed. So years after, I had the pleasure to speak with one of the senior pastors. So I said, "Sir, I want to ask a question. Does God live in tie?" Who exactly made this law? Show me in the Bible that says you have to wear suit and tie before your anointing can flow, before you can serve God. Where did we read it from? Is this God or is this British? Because this don't look like God. And they don't have an answer to today. But they just say, yes, here, you have to wear tie. And I'm like, this is how bad we've been. And, just to protest what you said, that they even designed a God for us. It's not what we practice.
Right.
That. So I was part of your symposium meeting in Bowie, Maryland, the last time during the I think that was the first time I saw you, in person. You had a meeting in Bowie here. And, it was an intense moment then. The energy was high. And, from that meeting, I've been having this thing in my head, which I think so many people, in fact, somebody sent me an inbox yesterday to ask the question. They've already been sending questions in. Yeah, the agenda for, we need revolution. With somebody have to stand up regardless. One of the things that we have a problem with that Nigerians as a people, we all know our problem. We all know how to complain. We know how to analyze. In fact, the best analysts in the whole world are Nigerians. We know how to dissect the problem. We just don't know how to provide a solution. In fact, sometimes we know the solution. Nobody's just taking the step. Nobody has just been, we just complain about it and not do nothing about it over time. So now, your agenda, your presidential aspiration, in the last election was like, I think, this is my personal opinion, I think everybody loves to see somebody different. We're all tired of the old spaces. But I think the turnout has been, most people, because I had a lot of arguments then, I was shouting, my Facebook was blasting, having to confront people on the personal. When they say, no, now, all these people, that one, I say, Sowore, they say, yeah, Sowore is cool. They always have something good to say. But they say, but he will not win. I say, why? He will not win because you will not vote.
Yes.
And people's general opinion has been, oh, yeah, we think, yes, even if he has an agenda, we think he has a good plan, but it will have started from, a lower office, from, maybe Senate or as representative and being the system. And I'm like, well, that's an opportunity to get corrupt. Because, like, the problem, I don't think is a person. I don't think the problem is the people. I think the problem is a system. Personally, I told my family, I said, it's not about government. I think everybody in Nigeria is corrupt. Typically, everybody is already, as long as you are in that system, you think that way, you are watered around that thing, you will just, there's an element of corruption that comes out of you. What can make a pastor to buy special center jam for his child? It's corruption. And we have normalized corruption in Nigeria. We just think it is. Some things are corrupt, but we don't know it's corrupt because we are born in it. It is when some of us are privileged to now be in a working system, functional system, and that those things are not good. Pastors jump you at the airport and just think it is grace of God that gives you favor. It's not favor, it's corruption. You are doing that at the expense of other people. So now this idea of, I think most people want to say something. Most people want to, like, everybody will have gone, in this direction of revolution, but they just feel it's an unrealistic goal. What do you say to that?
Well, I think two questions are embedded in your question comments, and one of it is why not start from smaller space level, and the second one is the idea of revolution, how it confuses people. Well, this is how people of vision are wired, or people who have extraordinary mission are wired. They come way ahead of their time,
Mm.
right? Yes, they come ahead of their time. And when they come, people will be um, debating, doubting them, whether their agenda is real, whether they are capable, whether they are old enough, whether they are smart enough, whether they are well dressed enough. On a lighter note, there were people in those days when I was running who complained about my hairstyle.
Ah.
That's their pet peeve. They were like, "Why did you cut your hair like that?" You know, if your hair was well cut, I would vote for you. You understand?
What?
Yeah, it was that bad because it was a period, in my view, of revolutionary confusion, and we are still in that confusion to today. But do you know how I answer as to whether I should have started as a senator or a House of Rep or a local government councillor? One is to look at capacity. If you put me, if you put me beside all the other candidates at that time, especially the ones who would never come for debates, would you choose, after you hear me, Atiku and Buhari debate, would you choose Buhari to run your children's, primary school over a Sowore? Probably not. Would you choose Atiku to run your life over a Sowore after you hear us speak? Probably not. If it's at the level of qualification, which is what people look at in our CVs, at that point, I had a master's degree from an Ivy League university in the US, one of the best 10 in the US, Columbia University, probably one of the best in the world. Buhari doesn't even have a verifiable secondary
Why
school
results?
certificate.
Mm. That is still a
Atiku
mystery today.
does it, doesn't that we know of. We just heard that they went to school and did. But that's not what makes people qualify. What makes people qualify sometimes in a nation of like our own country, is character. Does the Buhari have my kind of character that you entrust your life to him? While I'm in the Senate, you leave your economy, you leave your roads, you live your lives, you leave all your decisions to be made by a guy who doesn't know his left from his right. Then the third part is the global trend, even at that time. France, which had an economy that's probably 100, 1,000 times bigger than our own, elected a 32-year-old guy to run their entire country. The US, during Obama, elected a 47-year-old guy. There was a time the US had a guy who was 39 years old,
Mm.
as their president. And you are in Nigeria asking whether I'm qualified. By 2018, I was 47 years old. 2019, I was 48 years old. Today, I'm 50 years old. You are wondering whether I'm old enough to be president of Nigeria when I have every other quality that could run even Nigeria, as I usually say, without missing words, in my sleep. I can do better as president of Nigeria if I wake up and go to sleep and just run the country than Buhari will do if he's awake 24 hours a day, or an Atiku will do. So point to me, without being biased, without being confused, who could have
Mm.
run Nigeria better than I am? When, in fact, the items on our agenda, on a manifesto, became what was so attractive to even the ruling party that they had to be stealing it. This includes, making June 12th Democracy Day, a minimum wage that they still can't pay to today, how to diversify the Nigerian economy, how to fight corruption, how to put in place a healthcare system that is for all, how to put in place an educational system that is for all. I remember when I was traveling, without knowing that COVID was coming, I think it was in Germany, that I spoke to a group of Nigerians, and I said, even the idea of classrooms will be phased out in the future that I envisage. And COVID came and nobody could go to school. but education had to continue. So classrooms became useless till tomorrow. Right now, the US is planning a future without classrooms. But Nigeria don't have classrooms yet. So, except, of course, there's something wrong with us. And I think there's something always wrong with our system. We always go for our worst when we can provide the best. The guy who was my campaign manager is there with you in Maryland. Malcolm Fabi is his name. He graduated from the University of Lagos. He was student union leader after I left the University of Lagos. It was my immediate successor. He had the first class when we were leaving Unilag. Before he was 30, he had obtained a PhD. Those are the kind of the brain power that you saw behind the campaign. Several places around the world in Nigeria, we had some of the most brilliant people. We traveled on foot, in canoes, aircraft. We traveled by car to 34 states in Nigeria without a private jet to campaign. There's no place we didn't go except Borno and Yobe because we didn't have police to travel with. We traveled everywhere, my brother. And we spoke in every language that people could understand. And you cannot blame people. Eventually, there was no election. There was just a selection process in which numbers were allocated and they swore themselves in. And that was why immediately after I experienced that, we switched gear to start talking about a revolution. That without a revolution, Nigeria cannot experience.
Even election is not certain.
No, which election? They don't hold elections anymore now. Go and ask what happened in Lagos a week ago. Just local government election. There was no election. There was a young lady who used to talk to me on, I think it was a Clubhouse. He came to one of my appearances there. And she was saying, Sowore, just calm down. I'm appearing in Lagos State election next week. I'm participating in Lagos State election. And the day the election was over, she came back and said, there was no election, no. I hate to tell people that I told you so. But there was no election. So even the smallest elections, they are not willing to allow them to be free and fair, except there is a revolution. Except, my brother, there is a revolution. And that is why you saw we switched gear and we started explaining to people why there's a need for revolution. But how did I start? It's telling you that we are probably appearing ahead of our time. People will not accept that until it's too late. You understand? And they know how to create division and distractions. So instead of you to all form and bind and bond together and have a revolution, they will throw you some other curveballs. You'll be, in different direction, chasing other unrealistic goals. Because they know that if we are united and we have a revolution, we can have free and fair election. Even if it's not Sowore that wins, Sowore can at least, after the election, concede his loss because he will be convinced that the elections were free and fair. They just had an election in Zambia where the president of Zambia accepted at the end of the day that he lost the election. Because I'm sure, because it was election, he organized himself and he was convinced that he lost the election. In Nigeria, today, there's no way you can win an election based on the ideas you have. You can only win an election based on the number of people you are willing to kill and harm, and how many INEC officials or electoral officials you are willing to bribe. That's the only way you can win an election in this country today. And people want me to accept that, and they'll tell you, why don't you go and wait for 2023? As if the way we are going now, at this breakneck speed to perdition, most of us can make it to 2023. Yeah.
Somebody is asking a question here. Let me pin this. He said, this is quite funny. He said, Sowore, what is your idea of revolution when you don't have weapons, you don't have any military backing, almost Nigerians don't have weapons? How do we do revolution?
Yes, it's a great question. But I'll refer the person to countries that have had revolution without
weapons.
Yes. And one of the countries is how the blacks in the US defeated racism to a large extent. They haven't defeated it completely. Because don't forget that they started their own revolution against racism about the same time Nigeria got independence. In fact, Martin Luther King came to Africa, Malcolm X came to Africa because there was a liberation movement on the continent of Africa in those days. You can actually defeat these people with your numbers only if you come together on time as one and stage an uprising. An uprising. There's no question about it. You don't need to shoot a single bullet to defeat these cowards in my country. In fact, it will be an overkill to be looking for guns to fight, for 99% of Nigerians to fight less than 1% of their population who are holding them to ransom. What needs to happen, though, is that we must come to that conclusion that we are ready. We are ready to become, to become freeborns and not slaves in our own country. And the moment you make that decision, and those Nigerians at home and abroad bond together, come together, and decide on a date, and they are consistent and resilient, these leaders you are seeing here, they will run away. I know them very well. They will be running away on helicopters. Some of them will go away on bicycles, because the entire security apparatus in Nigeria, that is the Nigerian police, Navy, Army, Air Force, paramilitary organizations like Customs, Civil Defense, they are all combined not up to 1 million. And if you go by my theory, if we are 100 million, do you expect that 100 million people, 1 million people can wait when 100 million people are angry? It's not possible. It's not. So it is that understanding that would drive your appreciation of why revolution is a possibility and why it can be very swift and successful in Nigeria. But we're always doubting everything we propose. The problem with a lot of us in Nigeria is that we love to throw problems at every solution. And this was my experience. This has been my experience since 2018. When I was proposing all over Nigeria a minimum wage of 100,000 per person, people, especially people I love to call Facebook economists, said, it's not possible. If you pay 100,000 naira to an average worker, it's going to destroy your economy. And when I told them that, what is the salary of a senator? A senator is receiving 14 million naira. Head is almost 20-something million naira now per month. Are you listening to me, sir?
Yes, sir. I'm with you.
A Nigerian senator's salary is 20-something million naira per month.
Per month.
Yes. The minimum wage of a worker is 30,000 naira a month. Most of the states are not even paying. If you collect 30,000 naira a month, you have to work for 38 years to make a monthly salary of a senator.
Jesus Christ.
Yes. And people were there on Facebook.
We lost the sound. Something wrong with the sound.
Can you hear me now? Yeah. Can you hear
very
me?
Well. Very well.
They are there telling me it's not realistic to pay people minimum wage. The value of the naira had not gone down to this level at that time. When I was proposing 100,000 minimum wage, the naira was about 300 and something to $1, 300 and probably 50. As of today, it takes only a dollar, right, is now 512 naira. So the minimum wage of a staff, of a worker in Nigeria, divide it by 512 to $1. And ask yourself if you live in the US, if that can feed your dog in a month, if you have a dog or a cat. In fact, I don't think that can water your flowers during the summer.
At all.
Yes. So why are we so wicked to ourselves? Anytime you propose progressive things, they'll come after you and say, no, it's too bogus. And this is how, as I mentioned at the beginning of this conversation, this is how the political class has wired the brain of Nigerians to always work against their own interests.
Mm.
When we
Mm.
proposed that we turn Nigeria into a construction site, they said, "Where are you going to get the money from?" I said, "Where did they get the money they steal from?"
Mm. Right.
Yes. We'll stop stealing. That will give us almost 50% of the resources we need to build Nigeria. Now, Buhari is trying to do the same thing. They even claim, one of these minions claimed today that he's turned Nigeria into a construction site simply because he built a bridge that has not been completed in 8 years. I mean, in 6 years in the Niger Delta region. He didn't even start the bridge, though, the second Niger bridge. They are praising him for putting on Nigerian railways that had been abandoned in other countries. It takes people from Lagos to Ibadan 3 hours in the railway that he brought. It takes us, when we were growing up, an hour to get to Ibadan, less than an hour to get to Ibadan from toll gate to toll gate. Is it progress in 2021 that it takes you 3 hours to get to Ibadan by rail? When in 1986, when I first came to Lagos, it took less than an hour to get from Lagos to Ibadan, toll gate to toll gate. It took less than 3 hours to get from Lagos to Benin in 1986 when I came to Lagos for the first time. Today, it takes nothing less than 7 hours to get from Lagos to Benin. Are we making progress? But this is how our people defend mediocrity. So there's no idea out there that I did not bring out. Not only did I talk about these ideas when I was running for office, I explained in total how to fund every idea that I brought. But Facebook economists and people who claim they knew better, who were working for the government surreptitiously, said that these ideas are out of the world, they're whack. They used to make fun of me when I said we should be selling cannabis, which is a multi-billion dollar product, as a cash crop now. They said now everybody is selling cannabis for medicinal purposes, for recreational purposes. A city in, I think there's just one city in the US that makes $1 billion from it every year. New York was just planning to approve of cannabis. They've made over $300 million just from licensing alone. It was my idea in Nigeria, 2018. People were making fun of me. Ask me anything that could uplift Nigeria that I did not propose. I proposed it. When they discovered that all those ideas were working, they all say, "Oh, Sowore, you have ideas, but go to the Senate." As if we are cursed to go for what is always lower than our own capacity and capability. Some people said I should go to go and become local government chairman. You understand? I asked them, of all the people that were running together in those days, who has ever run an international company? Whoever created something that became an international brand? Nobody could answer me. When I mentioned on Channels TV that I had a vision that created Sahara Reporters and it became an international brand, the reporter was asking me, "How can you mention Sahara Reporters as a brand?" I said, if I was a US citizen and I created Sahara Reporters, nobody would have ever asked me that stupid question. Because it became an international brand from a laptop. The guy that created Facebook, can you ask him that kind of a question? The guy that created Twitter started the same way. But because I'm a Nigerian, an African, a black man, I was like, how can you say that? Because I'm not using it to make money. I'm not using it to, extort people and becoming a billionaire. People who started blogs after me are living on Banana Island in Lagos. Blogs, not even websites. So that is the problem with Nigeria, is that Nigerians must also come to a realization that they deserve the best and not that they are conditioned to go for mediocre people all the time. Somebody is saying there that they work in a medical cannabis dispensary in Villa Park,
You
Illinois.
know. Mm.
Huge amount of money that people make from just cannabis. Between Ekiti, Ondo, and Delta State, we have enough cannabis that can employ nothing less than 5 to 10,000 people. 5 to 10,000 people. Not at minimum wage of 30,000 naira, at minimum wage that is comparable with that of your minimum wage in the US, $18 per hour. Because that's how valuable that product is. Cannabis is the new oil, is the new gold. But where is the leadership that can harvest it? Even by their own official position, these airheads in Nigeria, they claim officially that they burn 15 trillion naira worth of cannabis every year. What is
Wow.
Nigeria's budget every year? 10 trillion. How can you be burning 15 trillion when your budget is 10 trillion? Does it
That
make
makes no
sense?
sense. That
No,
does
no, I
not
mean, they
make
said,
sense.
sorry, 1.5 trillion is what they claim they burn every year. And it's true. They actually deploy men, they deploy helicopters, vehicles to go around, harvesting and burning down cannabis farms in Nigeria. And Nigeria has some of the best cannabis in the world.
I bet.
I'm telling you, the place called Ogbese in Ondo State has one of the best in the world. Yes.
Somebody sent me a question here talking about the revolution now.
Yes.
He says he's talking, the concern is the if we there's there've always been some sort of revolution. I remember Tunde Bakari raised a movement the other time and all of this. So he said, let me read it. He said, but the EndSARS revolution failed badly, despite all the effort and the numbers. What are his view? What is he's asking now that what is your view on this?
EndSARS wasn't a revolution. It wasn't planned as a revolution. EndSARS was a one-issue reaction, police brutality. You understand? It's just like saying that the Black Lives Matter was a revolution. In some ways, it is against police brutality or racism, but it wasn't planned as a revolution. That's it. That's my answer. EndSARS wasn't planned as a revolution. If it was planned as a revolution, it actually would have succeeded. In fact, Buhari and his people react today against EndSARS as a regime change agenda. They were scared. We were close to overthrowing the regime through EndSARS. Had it been planned like that, it would have succeeded.
No.
Everybody was giving up. Policemen weren't going to work anymore in their uniform. Everybody had given up, on Nigeria. Airlines were turning back from Dakar to the US. Go and ask people who were coming on Delta. KLM of them. Nigeria, nobody could get to the airport in this Abuja. But because it wasn't planned as a revolution, it didn't succeed as a revolution. If it was planned as a revolution, the day after Lekki massacre, there would have been massive action. And that was the day, as you Christians like to say, that was the day that the Lord had made. But we didn't do anything on that day. Had everybody come out on October 21st, twice the number of people that are coming out, wallahi talai, the regime would have collapsed. There was nothing left. I was in this Abuja now. They were scared. It was at the point that people in the military were waiting to join that movement at that time. But it was likely because it wasn't planned as a revolution. Because of that, it didn't even have a leadership that could carry on. It was a leaderless protest. It wasn't a movement. That was why it was easy to put it out like a small fire. They confined the fire somewhere, put it out. If it was a revolution, there's no way they could have coped with it after what happened in Lekki happened. Because at that point, the rest of the world was paying attention to Nigeria. Even Biden, everybody was tweeting on October 20th. Everybody was waiting for what will happen next. And that was what made the difference in Egypt. There were killings in Egypt. And then people reorganized, came back again, and the regime fell within a week. So it wasn't planned as a revolution. With due respect, and I'm not in any way, uh, demystifying or putting down what happened
The
during
effort.
EndSARS. I'm just saying it wasn't planned that way because I started EndSARS in Abuja. I was the one who first led the protest to the police headquarters. So I know very well what EndSARS was. It wasn't planned as a revolution.
That's right.
Yeah.
Somebody said the fear of revolutionizing Nigeria is we may end up recycling the same wolf presently posing as sheep, and we are still back to Egypt. Now, let me ask a question going by this person's view. As a person, as somebody who has been raising a movement for revolution, do you think that people expect you to do the unthinkable while giving less support? Like they want you to, people expect the miracle. Like the truth is, we have never been on the same page like we are right now in Nigeria. Because whether you are rich or poor, everybody is frustrated right now. Everybody is affected. Whether you are in Nigeria, you are in diaspora, you are not doing good. Nobody is enjoying Nigeria at the moment. We thought we have seen failed governments. We've seen nothing. This is the worst moment of our life as a nation.
Absolutely.
So everybody wants to see something different. But it seems as if people are not committed to their pain. People are not committing to, and they just want to see the miracle happen. So for you, like the people who have been, following up with, do you think they just want you to do the magic without having investing the support and the measures that as a people?
That's likely true. The simple way to put it is like Nigerians want to eat the omelette without breaking an egg. A lot of people, and it's largely because part of it is religious. When you have a majority of your people head to church instead of protesting on Sunday, and they stay on their knees even when their prayers have been answered, you can understand why people feel that way. Nigerians, a lot of Nigerians are always looking for heroes. They're always looking for the person who can do it for them,
Do the magic
while they're in the comfort of their homes. If we had that spirit that is willing to make sacrifices, even that feeling alone that we are all ready for a massive revolutionary change, can force the hands of the people who are governing Nigeria, because they are not immune to public complaints. But one thing they can count on, which they capitalize on from time to time, they can count on the complacency of Nigerians. They can count that when it is close to that moment where they are supposed to do what is right, that they will start disagreeing with themselves. Somebody will come and say, no, that's not the right way to do it. This is the right way to do it. Sowore is too short to be the leader. He's too tall. It's not Yoruba enough. It's not Hausa enough. It's not Christian enough. It's not Muslim enough. Those are the divisions that they can count on.
the religion that they used to sweep us away during good luck.
Yes, it's like our default position to making progress. That so many times, even in my lifetime, there are so many times that we're close to getting salvation, so to speak, quote and unquote. And we'll just take a detour from that point. June 12th was one of it. We were close to getting rid of the military if we stayed on the streets just a few more days. And then suddenly, June 12th they were able to tweak it, and it became a Yoruba agitation. Like, they made it look like it's Yorubas that voted for Abiola, whereas Abiola won the election in Kano against Tofa. But that's how the political class operates. It's the same place we are today. We know what to do, but we start doubting ourselves. There's nobody who should be under any illusion. It's not because I'm saying it. It's the truth that without a revolution, you're going to have a free and fair election in 2023. You're wasting your time. 2023 will come and go. Or that simply because you wish to have a Yoruba nation, you don't even understand. For those who are fighting for a Yoruba nation, Some of them don't, so many of them don't even understand that to get a Yoruba nation, you have to stage a revolution. Because you want to break Nigeria. You want to break the constitution.
That's
You
right.
want to break the back of the people running Nigeria.
That's right.
You want to go away from what has been an established norm over 60 years. It's a revolution. And you're not going to do it while they just watch you. Because Nigeria is the supermarket of the political class. Go and touch it. You will see their red eye. So you're not going to stay in the diaspora, as I like to say. You can't break Nigeria with GoFundMe. It's not possible. It's not possible. You have to be willing to do something more serious.
Oh God.
You have to be willing. It has to be a commitment that the other side sees and say, "Wow, these people are not playing." No. And you have to be willing to sacrifice everything, including those who are fighting for breakup of Nigeria who are abroad. They must be willing to come home, and if necessary, carry arms, because you can't break Nigeria without some of those extreme measures. I don't believe in violence, but I'm telling you because that's the truth. So to the person who's asking, what's the revolution? That is also part of the revolution. You can't break up Nigeria without a revolution. Now, what's the revolution is a mass uprising that changes from the status quo that we have now to a different circumstance that guarantees you things you've never had before. A new government, a new constitution, a new nation, completely different from a new country, different from the one they run now. Because this place has been run down, completely run down. So if you are still under illusion that somehow these operators of Nigeria can manage Nigeria into some kind of El Dorado by 2023, I don't know. I don't know what to say to you. I don't want to sound rude, but I'll say that probably I have a bridge to sell to you. You know. Yes.
I want to die. I'm taking it precept by precept to go into. You mentioned religion, and I would and then this Yoruba agitation. We'll get there. Now let me ask you: do you think that religion has vastly contributed to where we are today as a nation?
Religion. Oh, religion is one of our biggest problems, man. Biggest. Whomever invented religion, man, that person needs to be getting the Nobel Prize every year. That person is really smart, because I've never seen, an idea that holds to ransom the progress of people like religion, especially as practiced in Nigeria. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable to walk into a country with 200 million people. Let's use that number because that's the official number. And to think that one guy who is a great actor can get on the stage and hypnotize millions and millions of people every Sunday, sometimes on a Wednesday, sometimes on a Monday. There are people who go to church in this country every day, even those who are working. When they are coming from work, they go to church first. Just so that they can be convinced to live a lie. Yes. It's unbelievable. And that's why it will take a long time, because you take internal consciousness to be able to get past that. To carry a Bible in your hand after you obtain a master's degree and go to a church building operated by a guy who did not graduate from university to interpret the Bible to you. That's serious matter. To take monies that you've made in a month and split it into 10 places and give 10% of it to a guy who don't have a job. And that guy then becomes richer than your entire city. That's powerful. And then for someone to tell you that you don't have to live a good life here so that you can go to an afterlife, when he himself is living the best of lives, is living a luxury here. When he's sick, he doesn't drink anointing oil or use a handkerchief. He flies on a private jet, in a private jet, to one of the best hospitals in the world. And when he
For medical
returns,
treatment.
he will ask you to thank God on his behalf. And he will mix water and olive oil that they bought from Palestine and add an handkerchief to it and tell you that your problem can be solved by that. Religion is powerful, my brother. Or somebody to tell you on the other side that if you carry out genocide, murder, on behalf of a deity that did not do the same thing when he was alive, that somehow some virgins are waiting for you somewhere.
Hmm.
You know, that's pretty powerful.
Hmm. Hmm.
Really powerful.
Do you know? Now, let me share a little experience. I relocated to America in 2016, and until when I got here, I know that we are suffering and smiling. I was, after a couple of months I've been here, a friend was talking to me, and he said, I think he made a statement like, "Olo anje kon shikini kon," and I was like, "Well, that's not the prayer." Maybe he asked for help. I promised that, okay, when I get paid, I'm going to go. And he said, "Wo John, and I was like, hold up. That's not the prayer. Hold up. That's not the prayer right there. For the first time in my entire life, you realize that you don't pray to God for you to get your salary paid.
Exactly.
You
No,
don't
didn't you
pray to
notice
God.
when you arrived in the US that your prayer points were different?
I don't even have so many.
You
I
know,
was telling somebody
because
that I don't have
because
prayer
when
point.
you wake up
There
here,
are some things they pray
you
for
have
now,
to
I can't
pray.
join them.
You have to pray against malaria, pray against NEPA, accident, pray against pray for food. And in America,
Pray for
people are
neighbor to bring
praying.
lights.
They are praying they are praying that their children will not get fat from eating too much food. Nigeria, we are praying for the children to have one meal per day. And we are praying to the same God. Same God.
I got here and I realized that people do testimony in church that they give them, thank God that the God favor them and give them visa. And I'm like, no America
Yeah,
with that kind of testimony.
exactly. No, when I got to America, I discovered that Americans don't even refer to their country as God's own country. But in Nigeria,
It is we that call it God's own country
yes, it is
because
the
it's
earliest name of
America there.
the earliest name of America in Nigeria is God's own country.
God's own country. Yeah,
Yes,
because it's magical day in our sites.
yes. To our people, it's like when they watch, they watch MTV and CNN, it's just like, wow, that country was made by God.
I see on
Americans are not Americans are not even as religious as Nigerians.
when I look online, I see somebody, they said, what is he doing? He's throwing a party. What is it? They said, moto. They take
Yeah,
car to church and buy
exactly.
snacks to
And I
dedicate
want to
to
ask
water.
you, maybe it's not me alone. Have you ever seen a governor commissioning a road in your part of America?
No, there is no way to commission a road because they constantly fix the road.
Yes.
So
When a road
road
is
project is not
built,
one
when a
major
road is
project again.
built, you
It's just
you
built. It's
open in a car,
normal.
start
It's
driving on
not a
it. That's
favor.
how it is commissioned. But
It's
in
not a
Nigeria,
favor.
if the governor is traveling, they will wait for the governor, even if it's 1 month after the road has been completed. They will put a ribbon there and be waiting for governor to come and cut the ribbon. Stupid things. It's unbelievable. There are things that happen here that would not that
Do
can
you
never make
think
sense
this
to even
concept of
people.
religion and the
Yeah,
mediocrity that is surrounded by religion? I mean, I've always said it with his student. I'm a faith-based Christian, but everybody who knows me knows my position that I have long criticized the concept that we practice in Nigeria. I have come to a point where I've studied to realize that culture and some high volume of mediocrity has eroded our mind that we are not even practicing religion the way it should be. I don't think most Nigerian Christians will even make heaven because they don't even understand what they are doing. Personally, I told a friend recently, I said, if you go to a church and the pastor declares 7 days night vigil, say stop going to that church. That pastor wants to make you poor. Those are the time you are supposed to be working. Your productivity will be reduced at work if you are going to do 7 days night vigil. Are you crazy? What are you praying for? But you see, we have been wired to pray for everything, to pray about everything. Now, my question is this high volume of religious mediocrity, do you think it has a gross impact in democracy today?
No, what I should tell you is that the simple way to describe it is that there's a relationship between religiosity and poverty.
Mm,
Most religious countries in Africa are probably the poorest.
mm,
Yes. So, and of course, if religion is such a powerful, has such a powerful impact on how people process things in their minds, it will have impact on democracy. Definitely, definitely. So, because I see it's only a religious mode that you have a bad governor and you still justify that he was put there by God,
mm,
that you shouldn't challenge him. Even when you have caught him red-handed doing terrible things, you still pastors will still bring the governor, ask you, even when the governor is not there, he will ask you to pray for the governor
mm,
or chairman of local government. They pray for the president that it is the will of God that he's there to punish you. Isn't
mm,
that an oxymoron for a nice God to impose bad leaders on you?
mm, mm,
You know, and then ask you to pray for that bad leader instead of you to be stoning the leaders, you'll be praying for them.
mm,
So religiosity has affected the quality of democracy as a result of that. Because were people not religious in the mode that we have it here, so many of the leaders first would never have qualified to be in position of power. Second, they would not have stayed a day longer than necessary when they are figured out to be failures, in the system. Thirdly, so many of religious leaders will not even have the audacity to enter religious places,
mm,
either on Fridays or Sundays.
mm.
But in most
Now,
churches in this
mm,
country, even if the governor doesn't show up, nobody would be allowed to sit on his seat
mm, mm,
because that's how we've been wired. It's the way our people have been wired. It's very sad, very, very sad. So, but the question we should ask ourselves, the people that introduced this religion to us, how are they carrying on? Are they carrying on like slaves the way we are carrying on? I don't see that as being the case in Europe. You
isn't
know,
it?
yes, the people that brought the Bible to us, they have evolved. Sometimes they have evolved in ways that makes it sound like they no longer even believe in the Bible that they brought to the black man. But black man is still stuck, you know, with the Bible
Mm,
and other religious books that were introduced to us that we're stuck with today. So we need to have that consciousness that can make us think beyond the highlighted portions of the Bible and other religious books. Because a lot of the pastors that people are following in droves, they don't even, I don't think they even have, some of them have never read the Bible before when you listen to
mm,
them, the way they talk. Assuming they have even read the Bible, they have come to understand that it empowers them to fool people,
mm,
you know. Yes. Because there's a lot of things to question even about this religious text in this modern day that we're not questioning. So, but I didn't come here for a religious
for
debate.
religious
I
talk,
came here to
yeah.
talk about politics.
I
When you are
my
ready for one,
personal notes.
when we are ready for one, we'll bring religious people and argue until we drop
Mm.
off.
Now, on the personal note, I really think that for me, I feel corruption has become a system in Nigeria. In the religious space, I think that the religious leaders or the religious establishments has successfully leveraged on the poverty and the vulnerability of the people to explore and exploit, which has enriched them. So it's like everybody is now, we are in a situation which everybody is now exploring. Due to economy, due to manufacturers, the industrialists in Nigeria have explored, the vulnerability and the poverty of this nation. So it's like Nigeria has not become a sacrificial animal. Everybody just bringing knife to just cut, which is grossly impacting the life of the people and putting us on the back end. But let me ask you this question on the mind of every Nigerian. Less of how we get here, but now we are here. Nigeria today. This is a nightmare we wish we never had. We are in the face of, before it used to be, oh, this is bad government and this is why. Everybody know what is going wrong. But at the moment, we don't have an idea of what is going wrong. We just wake up and find ourselves in this ordeal. So everybody is asking, how did we get here? Like, how? We are in a situation, this is the worst moment of Nigeria. Because for me, I feel that Nigeria, this government has not just failed. This government is clueless. It's not as if the people are suffering, the government are enjoying. As far as I'm concerned, the government are suffering, the people are suffering. Like, everything is a mess. I don't think anybody in that office, in any office right now, have an idea of what to do better. How did we get here? How did we land ourselves in this mystery?
We got here by traveling on a journey where at every bus stop, instead of dropping off passengers, we took on crazy, dangerous passengers. do you get my point?
Yes.
So it's like you're traveling on a journey and you're going from here to Lokoja. And when you go to the bus stop outside of Abuja, instead of dropping off a passenger, you take on a kidnapper. After another bus stop, instead of dropping off somebody, you took on an armed robber. And instead of dropping another person, you took on a ritualist. And then when they get to a point, they hijack your bus from you, kill you, kidnap you, or sacrifice you to something. And you are wondering what happened to you or what happened to the driver. So I'm making that analogy because there was a point, right, where it was colonialism that took us to where we are. They're the ones who joined us together the way we are now. But what I say to people is that we cannot have that excuse perpetually.
Forever.
Because there's no country in the world, including the US, that was not a creation of some kind of colonial experiment or adventure. So somebody always creates a country, or some people. Even if we create Yoruba or IPOP today, Biafra today, it will be a creation of some people who agitated for it, right?
Right.
And the ideology, the philosophy, the boundaries will be determined by these people. So soon after we had independence, we had a chance to do it right. But again, as it is natural of Nigerians, we kept, allowing criminals onto the ship. And then after a while, we started wondering, why is the ship overtaken? Why is the asylum overtaken by the lunatics in the country? So we got here through all of these manipulations, that of colonialism, of our own internal colonialists, of the military, of the political class, of traditional rulers, of religious leaders. That's how we got to where we are today. We've discussed so many of these things. But what can change the situation is for citizens to say to themselves, wait a minute, enough is enough. It is that decision that we have refused to make that keeps us in the condition that we are in today. We refuse to take a decision to say enough is enough and turn back and turn around and deal with the issues. Instead, we keep profiling more excuses instead of solutions. We keep throwing problems even at the solutions that are brought to us by our compatriots. Things that we know could work, we will say that it can never work. Instead of expanding, putting our energy in fighting the people who brought us here, we are fighting the people who want to take us out of the condition that we are in. Yeah, that's the problem. It is the problem.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we still have on the chat room today Mr. Omoyele Sowore. Somebody's actually saying, Mr. Sowore, what is the impact of the new development in Afghanistan to the present uprising in Nigeria? You say, what is
So
your
what's my
fear?
fear? Well, I don't have any fears, but Afghanistan and Nigeria are very close in terms of indexes, development indexes, terrorism indexes, poverty indexes. But most importantly, Buhari is also Talibanizing Nigeria.
Mm.
Does that
Mm.
make sense?
Mm.
No. There is a Nigerian minister who is a big fan of the Taliban. He's the Minister of Communication, Issa Pantami.
Mm.
Nigeria states are using resources meant for everybody in a secular state to enforce all kinds of laws in Kano that is at variance with what is in Nigerian constitution. Now in Kano, they are saying that mannequins can no longer look like mannequins. You can't buy
Really?
beer.
I saw that, and that looks like they make jokes sometimes to me.
It's real. So there's a Talibanization of Nigeria that's going on by the Buhari regime. Don't make any mistake about it. So that's my answer to that question as well.
Mm. Somebody said we got here because we voted APC. Mr. Sowore, do you think if it has been PDP, would have been any better?
I don't think so. What's the
Neither,
difference?
neither
Is it
do I.
not the same people that were in PDP that went to APC?
Neither do I. I really don't think so.
Nigeria is the only country in the world where you can go to sleep, a politician can go to sleep as APC. They wake up tomorrow, they have become PDP. You are wondering what happened overnight. So there's no
Mm.
difference between APC and PDP at all. They are the same, one and the same, just different names.
Mm. Now, as we speak now, Nigeria is clueless. People are suffering. People are hungry. It doesn't matter where you are. You are in diaspora. You are messed up. Your phone is blasting. You can't even, except you are a devil, you can't close your eyes to the need of friends and family who are going through such hostile, situation right now. We thought we have seen hunger during good luck. We didn't know that we are just preparing for hunger, and it's really bad. It's really bad. When I left Nigeria, dollar went up to, I think, about 200, was 198, 200, and now it's 500 and something. It's horrible, and yet we have not been able to have any answer to this. Now, as we speak now, so many people are already giving up on where we are, like we're going to die here, and they're just looking forward to 2023. So, do you think 2023 is our hope, or there's something we could have been doing right now to effect a change to this present situation? Are we, are we
I
supposed
didn't
to
get that question very. I didn't get your
now?
question very
So many
well.
people, after complaining about the present situation, they say, well, 2023 is like we are anticipating 2023 to possibly, hopefully, effect a change. So I'm asking, do you think our next hope for anything different right now is 2023, or there's something we could have been doing right now?
I've told you before, we should be doing a revolution now so that we can have something to hope for in the future. Not 2023, not any dates. 2023 is just another year in the calendar. 2023 is just another year in the calendar of oppression and manipulation in the Nigerian political system. It will come and go. Your condition will not improve. My condition will not improve. They will come and replace Nigeria with another incompetent, invalid, criminal, just like we have Buhari there now. And nothing you can do about it because the election results have been pre planned. And when it is at that time, they will announce the result to fulfill what has been pre planned. But if you. So it's, I don't want us to believe in the illusion, this fleeting illusion that 2023 is the year of salvation. If you were in college, that's university in Nigeria, or secondary school in the late 90s, right?
Mm.
They used to tell us that by 2020, all of our problems
Vision
will be solved.
2020. Yes.
Vision
Yes. Vision
2020.
2020.
There will be electricity, water, roads, hospitals will be functioning at breakneck capacity. Everything will be right. We are 2021, my brother. Things have gotten worse. So there is no reason. There's no reason, and there's nothing out there to give anybody hope that 2023 will be different from 1993. You understand?
Mm.
In fact, by 2023, we would have been at this charade that
Mm.
started in 1993 with Babangida
Mm.
for,
Mm.
because that's where we're headed.
Mm. I don't know where Muki or Jomo got this from. He said, but this Sowore is one of those who brought this Buhari. Any explanation regarding this? I'm not sure what this about you read.
No, look, I understand this is part of
Have you
how
heard
people
of
are,
any ideology like this before?
this is how people are conditioned to believe a lie. You understand? This is part of our biggest problem in Nigeria. Somebody will concoct a lie and put it out there in decent people. Supposedly decent people will lash onto the lie. That's why Nigeria is the way it is today. To believe that small me, can bring Buhari to power, there's something wrong with that perception. Secondly, if you ask the person now to provide you evidence, they will say they want to go home and find it. No such evidence. Never, ever met Buhari before in my life. Talk less of belonging. I've never belonged to his party, never held a meeting with anybody to promote or bring Buhari. Never written an article. I've never spoken on TV, never granted an interview, and I'm pretty outspoken, right? Except if all of this happens in some kind of space that is extraordinary. But it was what the Jonathan people started selling when they lost the election because of their own corruption. So
Oh,
yes, and they sell these lies to decent people. I want to believe Buki Ojomo is a decent person, and they believe them, and they repeat them in public. And when you ask them, go and bring the evidence, start to become, I don't need to bring any evidence. They'll go and look for circumstantial, what they believe is circumstantial evidence. Oh, we saw you at APC headquarters, people were jubilating with you. When it was the time I was doing my job as a journalist and people saw me, which they still do today. If I go to a mall in this Abuja, people will surround me, they'll take pictures with me. I'm supposed to drive them away a bit. So, but this is part of the Nigerian problem. They will target the person who is doing what is right and praise the person who is doing what is wrong. That is what today represent. Kayode Fayemi is praising Babangida for turning 80. He used to be a member of the pro-democracy movement. Tinubu is probably going to send him a congratulation. Jonathan is going to send him a congratulation. Some people said, "Oh, I was against Jonathan," and Jonathan is today working as an envoy to Buhari. Every day they're in Aso Rock. I'm tied down in Abuja. I'm the problem. Jonathan, who stole money, is not the problem. Jonathan, whose wife stole that they collected $5 million from, is the saint. Sowore, who said stealing is bad, is your enemy. So this is how we got. This part of how we got here. It's the same way Ghanaian was treated. It's the same Ghanaian family was treated. It's the same way Obafemi Awolowo was treated. So each time, I'm not saying that I'm a saint. I'm not putting myself up there as the best human being, but it is unfair. Not only unfair, it is sad that people would tell a lie against a fellow citizen simply because it is convenient, and especially people who are educated, who should know better, you know, because it's the same Sowore that helped Jonathan through Sahara reporters to become president when Yaradua was dying. Nobody says anything about that. It's the same Sowore who fought against Babangida in 1993 when he annulled the election of Abiola. Nobody talks about that. Same Sowore that joined hands with other pro-democracy activists in the country went to jail 8 times when some of the young people now who mount these lies were not born to drive military out of power. Nobody talks about that. But the moment they package a lie to you that somebody brought Buhari to power, and of all the people that brought Buhari to power is me with a laptop in New York. I did not even vote in 2015. I voted for the first time in 2019. I was registered to vote in Nigeria for the first time in 2018. I was not part of any political party. The first time I joined the political party consciously was 2018 when we set up the African Action Congress, under which I contested as a presidential candidate in 2018 and 2019. So if I brought Buhari to you in 2015, was I the one who brought him to you in 2019 as well?
Mm. Mm.
So when I contested against him, and when I was arrested in 2019, I spent 5 months in detention. They could not provide a single evidence that I had any interaction with. If I did, they would have provided it to the public to discredit me.
Mm.
None. They even looked at my account. They were shocked that there was no any transfer of any suspicious type made into my account. That was not. They couldn't find. When they couldn't find it, they charged me for money laundering for transferring money from my own account to my account.
What?
When they could, when they couldn't sustain it, they then removed the charge of money laundering from the charges, and now I'm left with what's it called, treasonable felony. So it's just sad that our citizens do this to ourselves, because in some ways it's also part of the injustices we perpetrate against ourselves.
Mm. Mm.
Yes.
Now, somebody drop a question here, which is likely to the question I intend asking. With all our problems, economic, security, now, okay, maybe before then, let me because this is my biggest concern right now in Nigeria, security. I believe that the president of the nation has the if you like, don't build road, don't do electricity, don't do anything. I don't. The first duty of the president is to protect life and property. That's why it's
That's
called the
right.
commander in chief of the armed forces. And as we speak today, everybody in Nigeria, rich or poor, either north, south. Before, during Good Luck, during Obasanjo, it was crisis in the north, and the southwest, south, we're chilling, and we just felt that the eastern part of Nigeria seems to have a calm, and probably we were negligible about it, and now it's like the whole nation is suffering some form of unrest or the other. Like, do you think this is a political attack, or you think these all of these does it what's your view about the security state of Nigeria right now?
You made a point about the security of lives and property in the country, and you also mentioned that the chief engineer of security in the country is the commander in chief of the armed forces. So, for you to have robust security in a country, you must have a commander in chief of the armed forces who is competent. Unfortunately, Nigeria doesn't have one who is competent. You have one of the most incompetent human beings managing your security. We've discussed this. There's nothing that can replace competence. And what it does is it trickles down to everyone at the bottom. Because when the commander in chief is not competent, he will hire incompetent commanders to run the various security agencies of government. And that's what you're getting in Nigeria. It's garbage in, garbage out. There's nobody in charge who is capable of managing the country. who's capable of commanding the commanders. This person you have, named Muhammadu Buhari, is one of the most incompetent human beings you can put in charge of anything. As we like to say here in Nigeria, Buhari is not qualified. Buhari is not qualified to manage a WhatsApp admin, the WhatsApp group. You know.
Funny but true.
Yes,
Honestly,
it's not
you look
qualified to
less
manage a
at any
WhatsApp
point.
group.
It's sad. Because alleged that
Yes.
you use Sarah Medium to defame Good Luck, and I don't even want to throw this to you, but I wish I had
It's the same
after
person, the same
this
person has gone back to change the language of
the
the
narrative.
allegation.
Yeah,
It's sad, Like I
I wish.
said, this is the kind of injustice we perpetrate against ourselves as citizens.
In fact, let me
If you ask the
respond to that of
person,
the question.
Sahara Reporters is live online. Tell them why we are at this show to bring one evidence of a story written to support Buhari or Sahara Reporters that the person alleges will bring Buhari to power. They will not be able to provide anything. She'll go back again and bring something because apparently maybe he or she is ashamed of what she did earlier, telling a brazen lie against myself. But it's fine. It's he or her fundamental right to express herself, and I respect that. But for those who might not know, it's false. I've never used Sahara Brothers to promote anyone. Sahara Brothers is known as an equal opportunity offender. That is why it is hated by the PDP and hated by the APC today in equal measure.
So let me come from this angle to respond to Buke Jomo. Sarah Reporter is an online news platform as at this moment when Goodluck was the president. Let me ask you a very fundamental question, Buki. What would have been reported about Buhari then? Who was Buhari? Nobody. He's not in power, he's not in government. So what news would they have written about him? Now, this is the thing that we always get wrong. The fact that I'm telling you that this one is bad is not evidently the reason why I'm telling you that this one is good.
As a matter
Criticizing
of
the
fact,
then government.
as a matter of fact, you can find content on Sahara Reporters that condemn Buhari even during the election. There's a friend of mine. He's a friend. Kennedy Emetulu is his name. He was a writer. He writes articles for different platforms. He was supporting Jonathan, and he wrote constantly. You can search his name, Kennedy Emetulu. He wrote constantly, and was published on Sahara Reporters throughout the election, before and after the election. So that's just an example, right? When Buhari came to power and he was sick, it was Sahara Reporters that was reporting that he was sick. So this is what Sahara does. This is what it was set up to do. The allegation, because he said alleged, like I said, can't you be fair enough to do your own digging and find out? Because your first position was that, oh, Sowore brought Buhari to power. Then after I addressed that, the situation, the language has not changed to alleged because you're trying to be a little smart. But that's not what I'm here to respond to. I've responded to it in the best possible way I can. I understand where these things come from. It's a well packaged lie that some people fall for. But what would be said to defame Jonathan? Jonathan does not have the character. You can't defame somebody who doesn't have character. You understand? Truth is a justification for defamation. If you say I defame you, and I can prove in court that you are who I say you are, you can't call it defamation anymore. And if I defame Jonathan, Jonathan is at liberty to sue me. He has never sued me before. He has never sued Sahara Reporters before, because he knows that everything we said about him is not a lie. It's the truth.
Right.
It's the truth that he promoted stealing by his government, that he stole billions of dollars, frittered away these billions. It is true. Most all the things you saw on Sahara Reporters about him are true. They have not been able to deny them to today, even though they try. They have not been able to deny them today. So to now bring them back in a public forum is usual, as usual what you guys do to promote mediocrity in Nigeria. somebody is wrong because he says the truth about a thief who was president of Nigeria. You know, that's defamation. It's not defamation. It's the truth. Jonathan was a
Mm.
thief,
Mhm.
and I'm saying it on this record. I'm in Abuja. Tell them to sue me if I lie about it. That Diziani was a thief who is still on the run since Jonathan left power in 2015. That his
We're
wife
in the
was a
Dominican
thief.
Republic. Mm.
That they have recovered over $5 million from the wife that she stole while she was the first lady. Let them come and sue me if it is a lie. That Jonathan was called Mr. Fortunato in a deal they did with OPL 245, where he collected over $1 billion and shared it with his attorney general. Let them come and sue me if it is not true. So I'm here. I'm not in the US. Don't so I'm not using the excuse of come and sue me in the US. I'm here and I'm talking to you from Abuja. I'm here in Abuja. Jonathan is
Mm.
also in Abuja.
Mm.
So you can go to the Federal High Court of the FCT court to sue me for defamation. Anytime.
Mm. Somebody said, what is Mr. Sowore doing to gather more momentum, especially youths and middle age in revolution movements? The youth are the strength of any nation, and I'm afraid our youth are getting carried away with frivolous activities of social media.
This is a very good question. Erilaka Tabu. Uh, I like that alias name. Uh, you cannot force young people to do exactly what you want them to do. If wishes were horses, as
Horses,
they say,
beggars will ride.
if wishes were a horse or horses, as they say, I too would not have encouraged a lot of things that distract our youth. Things like killing yourselves over European or uh, English league that doesn't favor you when your country is burning down. Wasting your time on Big Brother Niger instead of fighting
Mm.
power.
Mm.
I won't do it. But you must also appreciate that people are so depressed in this country. They are so sad. They need an outlet to just make them feel good a bit. And I think that's why there's a lot of energy and passion invested in some of these distractions. You can't blame the youth all the time. They have nothing to live for. Sometimes they just need some fun uh, to just get by. It's the country has gone down very bad, really bad. Even in America, where young people have fairly secure future, they still get distracted. I remember in those days when we were going to school in New York, there's a joke that the moment an American youth, is handed a cup of coffee, internet, and the train tickets, uh, that they are lost. And I think it's still applicable to today. A lot of American youths are also still distracted by superficial things.
Mm. Mm. Sir, now, with all we are going through right now as a nation, the insecurity, the economy, everything, nothing is working. Our education is messed up. Everything with all we are going through, plus pandemic, plus everything. We now still have right in our face now. IPOP, Yoruba Nation, uh, what's the one in the north? One Nation. For the first time, most Nigerians are getting to realize that the conventional Hausas are not even enjoying this. Because you see, it's easy to assume that all the Northerners are they are the humiliators of the rest of the tribes in Nigeria. But we come to realize that even the typical Hausa man is not enjoying this. They begin to speak up for the very first time and going against the Fulanis. So many people cannot even defend an Hausa man from a Fulani man. We just say the Northerners are the problem of the rest of Nigeria. But you see, we are seeing it differently. Now, this whole division in the face of decadence that Nigeria is suffering from. What's now? So many people are interested in knowing your stand. We've seen you identify with IPOB on different grounds. We see you identify with the Yoruba nation. Do you share their view ultimately, or you just giving a support for anything other than this government?
So I share the view of the right to self-determination, that everybody has a right to decide if they want to stay in a country or not, if they're tired of that nation. I share that view. But I have a little bias for a, African unity, the unity of Africans, to the point that it is one of my hopes and aspiration that the African continent will become one country someday. But with, of course, absolute respect for, right, the rights of, the component nations to determine their destiny. But, just like you have the European Union, which was something the Nkrumahs of this world had dreamt of Africa before they were kicked out of power and eventually died. I also do not believe that it's going to be an automatic solution to our problems. At the moment we have Yoruba nation, suddenly we won't have bad roads anymore. Or you have Biafra, suddenly your
Mm,
hospitals will be top notch. You have
mm,
electricity, there won't be corruption. I don't have that belief. I think it's an illusion that I do
mm,
not share. So
mm,
that's where that's why I'm different from people who are advocating for breakup of Nigeria. And people have argued with me that uh, they believe that in breaking up Nigeria, things will be better in the component states. But my simple answer to them is look around you now. Who are your neighbors? Who are your leaders? Are they
mm,
better than the leaders of Nigeria at the center? Who are your governors? Who are your councillors? Who are your chairmen? Are they better than the people you are running away from? So if you run away from Nigeria, are they not going to follow you to your component states, new states, and mess the place up? That is where we disagree. And nobody has been able to answer that question. They said to me, well, when we get there, we will deal with them. I said,
mm,
why are you going to deal with them? If you have a new Yoruba nation today, the most likely richest person in that new Yoruba nation will be Bola Tinubu.
mm,
Richest. It will be these same guys that we are dealing with at the center. You will still
mm,
have an MC Oluomo in the
mm,
Yoruba nation. And several of these powerful individuals who are trampling on your rights now. How do you get rid of them?
mm,
So it was the reason why I proposed a revolution. That after a revolution, these people will either have run away or they have been humbled to the point that if you then break up, you'll be at peace in your various new nations. But if you
So
don't
there should
have
be
a revolution,
revolution before the old talk
if
of
you have a
regional
revolution,
autonomy.
if you have a revolution in Nigeria today, successful revolution,
Mm,
you won't need to break up Nigeria. You will discover
okay.
that a lot of people who are asking for a breakup are merely asking for justice. I live in Abuja for 2 years now. My little research shows me that some of the most successful businesses in Abuja are owned by Biafrans, as we like to call them today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure that they want to carry these things in a bus or a truck and
Now moving back
the,
to Niger.
move
Mm,
to Biafra. They love it. They love to do their business, but they are choked because of the kind of leadership we have. And they exist in Kano. There was a story I read in a place in a border town between Borno and Cameroon. The last person there who is not Boko Haram is an Igbo man selling drugs, selling a pharmacist.
mm,
So there's a joke also all over Africa that if you go to any country in the world and there's no Igbo man there, you better run. That means you can't survive the place.
right.
So the Igbos have conquered the world. But bet me, they love their villages, they love their culture. I love it too. The Yorubas also have done very well for themselves all over the world. But all of us have one single problem. There is social injustice reigning supreme in our world. And at this point, it has been escalated by this criminal, Buhari, in power. He's not showing any sign that he even has any pretense about how he treats people, whether you are Igbo, Yoruba, or Hausa, or even Fulanis. But of course, there's evidence that he prefers and loves his people better than he loves other people, that he loves his religion more than he loves other religions. In fact, there's evidence that he loves his sect of his religion more than he loves other sects, because he's the first Nigerian leader to carry out a massacre against a religious sect known as um, the Shiites in Zaria. So Buhari makes it easy for everybody to want out of Nigeria. But my point is, if there is a revolution and we can get rid of all the Buharis in our lives and every other person that is out there making our lives miserable, we'll probably not be asking for a breakup of Nigeria. Nigeria is not that big. Well, it's not even that big. It's easier to explain this to you people in the US, the people in the US. There are 50 states in the US, continental US. I think there are territories as well. Puerto Rico being one of them. One state in the US is bigger than Nigeria, out of the 50. And the US 50 states is governed by a president. But the US is a federation to the extent that even federal courts in the US have different rules in different districts. The libel law, defamation law in Texas is different from that of Maryland and that of New York. You understand? Even criminal offenses are different from, they differ from state to state in terms of gravity, punishment, and sentencing rules. So that's how federations work. So we need to put in place a federation so that as federating units, we can deal with our differences in terms of culture, even religion. So some people, if you go to, I think, Michigan, it's a crime in Michigan to engage in adultery. But it's probably not a crime in New York, right? Because it's a federation, right? It's federating units. So if people in Kano choose that they don't want mannequins in a federation, they can have laws that don't allow mannequins. But there will be a general federal law or constitution that says, if you don't want mannequins, it doesn't mean that if I have a mannequin at home, I've committed an offense. Or we can challenge it at the federal court or the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says everybody has the right to put a mannequin in front of their store. There are states in the US that support abortion. There are states that don't support abortion.
Right.
Yes. So that's what federating units are about. That's why I'm in support of really federating Nigeria. And also some measure of resources control in Nigeria. But the truth is that for all these things to work, you need to have a revolution first. You have to have a new constitution first. You cannot amend a constitution that was not legitimate. It's like building something on nothing. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's where people get it wrong with Nigeria. For people who support that we break up, I have no problem with you. I don't. It's just my preference that we don't. And you can blame it on my exposure, having traveled around the world, that I probably prefer countries that are integrated than countries that are isolated. Because I haven't seen a lot of small countries succeed like big countries these days. China is huge, 1 point something billion people, and they're the most, prosperous nation on earth today. India is huge, billions of people. They are prosperous today, but we are we are not supposed to
Yeah, and
kill
now people
anybody.
say Nigeria is too big. That's why they can't govern. I'm like,
Nigeria
bro,
is not big. Nigeria
it's
is
not up to California.
you can fly. No, it's twice the size of California. I studied geography, so I should know. But it's just 75% of Texas. You understand?
Texas.
Yes, you can fly from one part of Nigeria to the other in less than 1 hour, 10 minutes from Lagos to Maiduguri. Two extremes. You can fly in the US for 6 hours from one extreme to the other and not make it to your destination.
Definitely.
I flew from New York to Arizona once, 6 hours or 5 hours something. And I was like, am I still in the US? I kept looking out of the window and still the continental US. So that's the truth. You just have massive country. The moment a country is well managed, space becomes an advantage. But if it is badly managed, even if Nigeria is broken into 30, 36 countries, there will still be problems. As long as you don't have the right kind of leaders running Nigeria. So what you hear people who want secession complain about is leadership. They just want out because it's like you're in a bad marriage, right? You want out of the marriage without even thinking about who your next wife or husband will be, if it's going to be better. You understand? And there are people who will say to you, oh, maybe, the size of the house does not determine whether marriage is bad or not. You can live in a mansion and have a bad marriage. And you can live in a
Definitely.
room and parlor and have a good marriage. You understand? And vice versa. You can also live in a mansion and have a good marriage if the characters of the two people who are in marriage matches. So that's the point. I was only going to give you 2 hours, so we should be wrapping. I
We
have
have a
another
caller on
event
the phone. So,
coming up.
hello. Yeah, good afternoon. Very quickly, we're about to go.
Yeah, Mr.
We can hear you.
Hello, Mr. Victor.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, my brother. I'll be glad to come back on your show.
Right. Yeah,
thank you to
very
everyone
much.
who is watching and listening. And I hope to see you guys again.
Thank you very much, sir. It's so
anytime soon if we survive here in Nigeria. When this regime is finally kicked out, we will issue out a survivor certificate to every Nigerian who survives Buhari. That's a joke that's prevalent here. Thank you, and good evening from here.
Thank you very much, sir. Right. Hello, Mr. Muiwa.
Yeah, hello. How you doing?
Good.
Yeah. Can Mr. Sowore still hearing us, or is out of the line?
He's out of the line.
Oh, okay, no problem. There is little things I want to chip about. I just want to get it briefed.
Go ahead.
First and foremost, it says something about one section of the country being Talibanized. If that is what he has in mind, but he's contradicting himself. That is why I would have loved to ask him a question to his face.
I think he said Buhari is trying to Talibanize Nigeria.
Exactly, and it's been done. And not just, this guy is taking up to 8 years now. So definitely, since he got into power, he has been doing that. Hello, I can't hear you.
Yeah, that's what he said. That's what Mr.
Yes.
said.
Okay, when he said that, when some other sections are now saying, okay, we cannot continue like this. Because when he was talking about revolution, I can't hear you.
I can hear you. We can hear you very clearly.
Okay. When he was talking about revolution, that's why I said I would have loved to ask him a question, and probably he will be able to be, I'm very sure if he's listening to the program now, he won't be able to give me a good answer. Revolution. We have witnessed this film several times in our life, especially as far as I'm concerned. I could remember in those days of Gani Fawehinmi. That's the question I would have, because he's my idol. And I would have asked him. He was there too that time, back home in Nigeria. We're of the same generation. We know what we were doing that time. We know how we were fighting all these things. But immediately one of us, somebody you know, is being killed on the road, you will see how many people have been following him when he's doing this revolution. If he's able to have 20 people today, the next day we don't be able to have 10. It's not something that is easy when you don't have the resources to fight this revolution. Revolution is not something you just be marching. People cannot be marching on the streets every day. They will be thinking of what they left at home. Their parents will call them, come back home. Don't let somebody kill you.
That is the problem that's where we got stuck. Everybody think we need the revolution, but nobody want to risk their life.
To do it. Everybody wants to go to heaven. Nobody's ready to die.
Exactly.
So the question is this. This is where I have been saying it. You see, when he said, even I would have asked him a question again because we hosted him here. I was the one that raised the question. I said, Sowore, I know you very well. You can't make this thing. It's not like I'm trying to be somebody that saw a bad dream about you or whatever. You don't have a platform, and you don't have that is structure that will be able to pick you from where you are now to be a president of Nigeria. You can't do it. Let's just forget about it. And people are looking at you as somebody that lost, that's not grateful in losing. That is why you started a revolution. If you have not contested that and you started a revolution as just ordinary candidate from outside, it would have been a different thing. So he missed it up entirely. So he's just trying to save face on some silly things. I have to be honest with you. I would have fixed him and let him know this. The truth of the matter is that we all want good governance in Nigeria. We want a good system that we'll be able to be proud of as a Nigerian. But the structure right now, it can't help us. There is no way we can sustain it. I agree with him with one question, with one answer he answered. He said, the Igbos in so many places, the Yoruba in so many places, they don't want to leave their property, they don't want to leave their wealth, they don't want to leave whatever they have made in some other region. I agree with that. I understand that. That's why I'll be telling some people that it's not going to be easy. This journey is not something that you can just achieve in a day.
Right.
It's not a dream that you just come back the next day. Say,
right. But sir, even if we have, we split in pieces, it does not necessarily mean those businesses have to leave and move to their country. They will just apply for documentations that make them practice business. Don't we have foreign investors in Nigeria right now?
I agree, but they will be afraid. That is what they are afraid now. They don't know it's going to work that way. Yeah.
This is the problem. You know why we are feeling this way is that we are addressing this. I am not a fan of, I don't even know the problem of Nigeria. I don't even know the solution to Nigeria. I'm not a fan of anything. Like, Nigeria is a mess up right now. So I'm always very careful to take a position. But I feel like we are feeling that way because we are addressing this problem as if we are the enemy of ourselves. One of the things that I really do not support in those who have been fighting for the, regional autonomy, about, let's have Yoruba nation, let's have the Igbo nation and all of those things. One of the things they are doing that I do not support is the campaign that makes it sound as if Hausa is the problem of Yoruba. No, we are all victims of bad governance.
Absolutely.
I want Fulani shaking it on Fulani. No, it's not about the Fulani. The Fulani will not go in the bush and kill people if we have a functional system and a government that is active and interested in the life of the people. So the problem is not the Fulani. Yorubas are killing Yorubas. Igbos are killing Igbos. Hausa are killing. So there is crime in Nigeria, period. When we begin to tag name to it and begin to stereotype, we are giving birth to racism and bigotry that will never end in the history of Nigeria. America, as big as it is still suffering from it today. Now, so if we end up having Yoruba nation and Igbo nation with the right mindset, Igbo will still live in Lagos and do business in Lagos, just get the right licensing and the right visa. The only thing is you will need a visa to live in Lagos. We have foreign investors right now in Nigeria. We have Chinese having multinational companies there. But if we break out and have Yoruba nation and Igbo nation, Biafra nation and Ariwa nation, with a mindset of these people are our problem, that is when they begin to feel unsafe to live and work in these countries.
Okay.
Hausa is not the problem of Yoruba. Fulani is not the problem of Nigeria. Igbos are not the problem of Yoruba. Yoruba is not the problem of all of these people. We have a bad government.
Mr. Victor, like you rightly said, I could still remember back in the 90s, early 90s, I could remember vividly that these things were not a problem. Like you just said, that even we don't even know whether Hausa, we are very close to ourselves. I could remember where I lived when I was growing up in Ibadan. I lived very close to Sabo. So we always play ball together. That is every Sunday we play ball. We do things together. But it was of recent I started listening to this accusation that, the Hausas. I said, what is going on? Is it not the same people we always have fun with every Sunday in playing soccer, get together? So, but the fact is this, like you said, when you don't have a good governance, it will expose what is people are not looking at as, maybe it's being sectionalized or whatever, like what this government is doing. But having said that, Mr. Victor, with the present situation, with the present technology, with the presence of understanding, like we can be able to talk to each other now. We don't have this kind of opportunity in those days where we can just be chatting now. I can express what I have in mind now. That is why it is not possible to be able to sustain this situation again. They just have to look, to sustain it like the way we are now. My brother is far-fetched. Let me tell you one thing: if APC is voted out of the government in 2023 and it happened to become PDP, these same people APC will be agitating against them again.
Definitely.
That's what I'm saying. Definitely. It's just a recycling of what our problem. The only thing is that and if you look at it, there is cultural differences. That cultural differences is started coming out now, and it's hard for us to be able to sustain it together again. I have to let you understand that it's hard for us to believe it that because the cultural people are looking at it. And people here we don't do things the same way we're supposed to be doing it. He was making references to China. Look at China. China, they speak the same language. They are about 1 point something.
That's
billion,
right.
They speak the same language.
That's right.
They do the same thing. So I was trying to challenge him. He showed that these are the things that is not going to be able to sustain Nigeria. Believe me, it's very hard within this country. Even within ourselves, within the Yoruba, they still fight each other. They will say, you are Ijebu, you are this. Talk less of the whole country that is having this kind of different things. It's
over 450 languages in Nigeria.
I'm telling you, it's going to be difficult for us to be able to stay together. That is why this agitation will continue. I know it's just the beginning, but the truth of the matter is that his own revolution, I don't understand it. Like I would have told him, because that was the statement I made in his presence in California here. That look, Sowore, to me, to the best of my knowledge, I am not discarding you. I'm not saying you cannot aspire to be whatever you want to become. But the truth of the matter is that you have been in the United States. I just came down to United America, and I know how Nigeria's system works. I know how it works. Let me tell you the truth. If you don't have a structure, you can have all the money, bring it home. Ari Akonde, he brought some millions of dollars. That's why the man is mentioned that. You remember this Ari Akonde?
Yes, I know Ari Akonde.
Yes, Ari Akonde was staying. You know where he was staying? He was staying in the last floor in Cocoa House in Ibadan. Just like somebody staying next, the last floor in. Ask anybody that is in Ibadan. Yeah, I'm just telling you, this man brought all his money from abroad to come and contest in Nigeria. And he doesn't know anybody, doesn't have a structure, he not belongs to any party. How can you just win like that? Start with the local government. Revitalize that place. Let people see that place as a mecca of Nigeria, as a New York of Nigeria, as a what's it called? One of these big streets in UK, as in Nigeria. Then people will say, look at what this guy have done. Then you move forward from there. You can't just come as an activist and say you want to revitalize that country. That is the reason why you cannot find things successfully, except by like what people are trying to do right now. I'm not saying that is the last resource, but I just believe is the beginning. This agitation that everybody at least we can have a conference now that okay, what do we want? Because it has been very long. Nobody have talked to each other to say, okay, this is what these people are crying for. This is what these people want. This is what agitating for. So, Mr. Vito, that is just what I wanted to say. And it's unfortunate I couldn't be able to get him online directly and talk to him. So, thank you very much for this wonderful program.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, man.
Now, you see, one of the problems that I figured out is the way our energy is being dissipated to so many channels at the same time. Like I said, when Mr. Sowore was here, I don't know who exactly is enjoying Nigeria right now. Oh, yeah, they've given so much privileges and preferences and ignoring the crime of the Fulanis. But well, newsflash, I don't think any Fulani feel safe in Nigeria right now. Because a typical Fulani man cannot even walk around carelessly in Lagos. He fears for his own life. I don't know any Fulani now that will just feel comfortable to be running around in the north. Because, of course, this situation has made it look like these are death threats. And before they kill you, kill them first. I don't know how many Fulani must have been niced and, harassed and assaulted, probably killed innocently because some other Fulani have been killing. How many of you saw the video in Jos where like 2-3 buses filled with Fulani people who went, and for a function in Bauchi State, they were returning back to Ondo State, and the bus were stopped, and these people were massacred. I am not of any tribe in Nigeria. I'm a Nigerian, period. I will not support anyone who support killing of a Fulani man, irrespective of what you think they are or who you think they are. I'm not going to be part of killing, period. I don't want a Yoruba man dead. I don't want an Hausa man dead. I don't want a Fulani man dead. So one of the things that I have strongly opposed in the agitations for, all these tribal interests, Yoruba Nation, IPOB, is how the hate speech that condemn another tribe or blame another tribe for this government. No, I really don't think so. Because you see, that's going to be the reason and the beginning for our problem. We need to be careful what this movement can give birth to. Even when you finally have the Yoruba Nation, you are not, like Mr. Sowore said, Yoruba Nation is not the solution to our problem. It might give us more reality into navigating to our solution. But it's not necessarily the solution. There's nothing that guarantees that if we have Yoruba Nation today, Lagos will be better than what it is. Hey, if we have Yoruba Nation today, we are still going to have the same Yoruba corrupt leaders. They are still Yoruba people. We are not going to kill them. Most likely, 9 out of 10 times, they are still the one that will be in the ends of affair. They're still going to be in the seat of power. Yes, but hopefully they feel like, okay, when we break into smaller, entities like that, maybe there will be more, a compact system that can have a proper oversight of the government. Yes, I am not against those agitating for regional autonomy. I'm not against it. Neither am I in civil force. What I am against is how they are going about it. So many people have accused me of condemning Yoruba Nation or criticizing them. I don't criticize. I'm not against them. I am not against Chief Sunday Igboho as a person. I am not against him. Those who knows me knows that I have given him credit many times. They don't see when I give him credit. It's when I criticize him that they always see. And that's normal. And for me, I've gotten to a point, I don't give a shit about what anybody feels. My position is my position. You don't like what I say, get out of my page. I'm not struggling about that. But you see, my problem with them is how they are going about this and the consequences that we might leave behind. We are suffering from bad system. I feel that if all of us as a people can come together as a Nigerian, okay, yes, Sowore is leading revolution, and some people are leading Yoruba Nation, and some people are spreading Igbo Nation, and if we can come together as a people to fight bad government, this energy is being dissipated, scattered around everywhere. It doesn't make sense. That's why we are not going to achieve anything substantial. There is none of this pressure group that has the capacity and the capability to stop this government. Hear this and hear this very well. Yoruba Nation will do nothing, and I repeat, nothing substantial to stop this government. This revolution now will do nothing, evidently nothing, to stop this government. We're just going to be disrupting and just be in the talking. Nobody can still stand the DSS. I mean, evidently the Yoruba Nation has made us see that, because that's like the biggest defense. Oh, these ones, they have traditional powers that they are going to use to fight the government. That's what they have promised us. Unfortunately, they don't have an integrity to even keep their promise. By the time it's first small confrontation that came to them, here we are. Yoruba Nation now is whispering. Yoruba Nation. It's sad. So the truth is, they don't have the trappings. They don't have the machineries to disrupt this government. Neither does Revolution does have it. Neither does IPOB have it. IPOB is the most confused set of pressure group I've seen in the last 6 years. They're confused. You know? But if all of this energy, IPOB and the Yoruba Nation and the Revolution can have a strong alliance and create a force, and we can move as a people to face this bad system, knowing that the people are not the problem. The system is the problem. The people are not the problem. It is the system. We have a bad system. Fulani can kill anybody because there is a bad government. It's not the Fulani. Whether you like it or not, there are more Yorubas killing Yorubas than Fulani are killing Yorubas. Go and do your research very well. There are more ritual killers and suicide killers and, kidnappers everywhere. There is killing in Nigeria, period. You can tell who is killing. If we have a functional system, nobody there's going to go in the bush and slaughtering people like a goat. When I saw the killing of the Fulanis, and I was gutted. It's gross. Nobody deserves to die. Everybody, as a citizen of a nation, deserve access to life, security in their own nation. Did you hear me? No, don't go there. Don't let us do that. Don't let us do that. I don't see. You notice that I've chilled with Yoruba Nation people because there are two things. People are taking it as if I have a problem with Sunday Igboho as a person. No, I don't have a problem with him. I love him. And God knows I love him. But there's one between, as far as I'm concerned, no, don't take me. There's one between Sunday Igboho and Yoruba leaders. Yoruba leaders are a bunch of jokers, and I don't. My opinion about them will not change. Now, you said they did not promise anything. That's a lie. Well, that's not why we are here today, because I will give you materials where they have promised the people that they are going to disrupt the government, they are going to disappear, they are going to do this. In fact, they even give us a briefing of all of the voodoos that they have gathered, and they are not going to use ordinary eye. They will go there, they will send different deities to them. We have them in record, okay? We are not just on this people, we are not stupid. They promise us, but we know those are just form of careless talks. Evidently, the outcome proves that cannot work. I'm not saying they don't have it. I didn't say they lied. Yes, probably they have it, but that cannot work. Voodoo will not work against government because government is nobody's last name. Do you understand that? We just need to wake up. But the most important thing is not discrediting each other. The most important thing is realizing that all of us have a problem. Okay, Igbo-Indian, what's this? Igbo-Indian Nation. Is that another movement? Is that another movement? Igbo-Indian Nation. Sorry, is that another movement or is just your own name? You say Biafra is not an Igbo nation. I understand that there's still partition and division among the Igbos about this Biafra nation. Some are not even part of it. I mean, that's normal. The Yoruba nation too, there's so many Yorubas that are not part of it. How are we going to ever make anything substantial as a people? We are going to end up complaining about bad government. Fast said something in one of his songs. You know Fast the bad guy. He had a song called Hypocrites. In one of his rap lines, he talked about all the politicians who lied to us, and then he said, how about you, who is pretending as if you only see two jokers? All we do in Nigeria is APC, PDP, nothing else. The last election, we have available credible people who can rule the nation. Even if they can't rule the nation, who can try? Some people say, oh, Sowore, we don't know him. Well, if somebody we don't know, he could have at least start from the scratch and do something like Mr. Moiwa said, do something good in his local government so that we can see what he has done. And then we can do better. So, sorry, what did Buhari do when you guys voted for him? What did Buhari, what was in Buhari's session? What has Goodluck done before he was president? Yes, Goodluck was the vice president before, he became the president. The thing is, see, it's just like credit rating. Somebody who have a bad credit and somebody who don't have credit record at all. Somebody who don't have a credit record at all is better than somebody who have a bad credit. These ones, we know that they have failed, they are bad. But you are saying you don't want this one because you don't know him, you don't know what he can do. I think it is a better risk to risk the one that you don't know what he can do than the ones that are now voting for the ones that you evidently know that he has nothing good to offer. I don't know if I'm making sense to somebody, because that's what we did in last election. 2023 is coming, they're going to do the same thing. So many people say, oh yeah, Fela Duro 2 years, like Omoyele Sowore. Who else? We have so many candidates. But because you feel like if I vote for the people say, I don't want to waste my vote. That's why I did not vote for Sowore. That's why I did not vote for Fela Duro 2 years. That's who else? A couple of them. We have a couple of credible people. The only reason Toba Obeisheson, the number is on the screen. Where are you watching this show from? With to go? The number is right on the screen. Hello, good afternoon. Hello. 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 If I want to not listen to the audio from whatever you are watching from, you have to use your phone to listen. Hello. The Ibibo IFFK Anang Ijo Ogini Igbos, which the Biafra included in their country. Okay, I get your argument now. Igbodian nation. Igbodian nation. He said it's Ibibio, Efik, Anang Ijo, Ogini, Igbo, which the Biafra included in their country. I bet not. Somebody called me Biafra one time and I was personally offended. Because I'm from the South. I'm not no damn Igbo. You know, I don't know why they did that. I understand your argument. I don't know why they did that for the most part. I think they're just trying to gather number and create momentum. They're just trying to gather number because those are actually not Igbos. The South are the South, the South, Edo, Delta, Rivers, Akwa Ibom. All of those are South. They are not Igbos. I know so many Yorubas don't know that. Yoruba are a very funny set of creatures. Once you are not Hausa and you are not Yoruba, they just call you Omoibo. All my growing up, people call me Omoibo and I'm like, I know them Igbo. Toba Obicheson, the number to call in is right on your screen. Somebody was calling me now. I think it was calling on a regular call. I think it's just safe to dial on WhatsApp. It's better than that. So for me, I think my own concern with them is the way we are with so much energy dissipated around about everywhere. It don't make any sense to me personally. Doesn't make any sense to me. I think it's so much noise making. Our energy is being dissipated, and we can't get anything. This government is bad. Nobody's enjoying. Fulani is not enjoying it. Fulani are suffering from insecurity right now because if a Yoruba man holds them in the bush, he will need them. You know, nobody's feeling this. Nobody. I don't know how somebody did not see the number to call on this screen. This is the number to call right on your screen. Maybe that would be better. We're almost shutting down though. We're about to go. That's the number to call right on your screen. Nigeria. Now the thing with the agitation or agitators, is that they are putting the last thing first. Before you step out and begin to raise a movement, I think you should have done your strategies first. And that is what I can't find in most of the agitators. Their strategies are watery, but their noise are heavy. Before you come and make noise, you will have had a roadmap, a strategy. I watched one of the person who started the Yoruba Nation, that Professor Banji, was making a lot of sense. One of the things that I would personally advise for especially the Yoruba agitators is to get more enlightened people, not all these referrals that are mismanaging them and misrepresenting the agenda. I think so many of the people who are speaking to the media on their behalf are actually speaking heresies and speaking from the point of ignorance and high volume of mediocrity. If they can get people who are more learned, who are aware of about Nigeria, who understand Nigerian politics, not just one person who just want to talk and gather people speaking on live show, it won't go well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we spent over almost 2 hours 30 minutes here. It's such a great time sharing with you guys. Well, there are work going on the ground. Hopefully, let them. They've been telling us that is tell us something else. I hope something is going on. I hope that they can come up with something more, more solid. I would personally love to support the Yoruba education, but the way they're going about it, I wasn't feeling it. And I was like, no, this is wrong. And then they have these bad habits of you can't have your opinion. You can't share your opinion about the agitation. You can't say, okay, I don't think this is cool. Why are we doing this way? Everybody will attack you. As if, no, it doesn't work that way. You cannot be fighting oppression and be an oppressor. Because what the Yoruba nations are doing at some point is that they're becoming an oppressor themselves. How do you show us that you're better than what you're trying to fight? So I hope they can do better. I hope they can strategize. I hope they can revitalize. We've not had anything about Chief Sunday Igboho's case. Hopefully that things are working out. I wish he get out of this. I hope God help him, and I hope he see from a clearer perspective. I don't know when I'll see y'all. I'm going to have a very eventful week. Okay, yes, we have a caller calling. Hello.
Yeah, I've been trying to get hold of you. It's going to be a quite quick one. I know you're trying to wrap up.
Yes.
I want to seize this opportunity that you've given to Mr. Sowore. I want to appreciate him for all his good work, and he's been a strong man, and he's a strong advocate of human rights in Nigeria, and I think we need to appreciate him, and we need to support him. See, having said all that, the last man that called earlier, before I called him, said Mr. Sowore hasn't got the structure on ground. However, it appears he is the only opposition for the Nigerian government as we speak. So you see, that's why I find it laughable when we try to condense the good work Sowore is doing. If you go to Nigeria now, as far as opposition is concerned, and in terms of who is actually speaking for the masses, it's only Sowore. All the political parties are nowhere to be found. Even PDP, the political opposition is not even there. And in terms of who has actually put more support towards Yoruba nation, how we even say is actually same Sowore. We see his work with the 12 people that were arrested in Abuja, and all the people making noise online, collecting money, and not even on ground in Abuja with all the money they've been contributing for the last few months.
That's right.
Are you following me?
That's
Sowore
right.
is the one that is on ground for Yoruba nation. See the irony of the whole thing.
That's right. All of their speakers making out saying they're going to one embassy. None of them showed up.
None of them. And it's the same Sowore that went to the lion's den, videoed. Even those people, the Yoruba people,
he was even arrested that morning. They quickly released him again.
He was arrested. I'm even shocked that people can easily come out and still say to condemn him for all his good work. Yoruba nation should even be appreciating the good work he's doing. Because as far as I'm concerned, he's the only opposition in Nigeria that is actually speaking. His voice is even louder than those people that are making noise online. Because he goes actually to the lion's den.
He goes in person. He's not just talking.
He's in Abuja, the government seat. He's been arrested on I can't count how many court cases he has appeared this year alone. We see it online. We follow him. And when you compare all those people that are abroad making noise, collecting money, they are collecting money. So where is the one that we are not even given this? If we give acts of support that they are giving the Yoruba agitators to Sowore, he would have done a far more job. I think that's where we are getting it wrong, and you can see the total collapse of Sunday Igboho being arrested and everything just
one arrest. Just one arrest. And they are promising they are going to take a whole nation.
Does that mean the whole campaign is solely resting on one certain individual? And we can see Sowore's movement. So when that man was saying he hasn't got the structure, he's doing his own thing. He's got the political structure on ground because as far as I'm aware, Sowore has actually registered a political party.
Somebody who has a political party.
He's got his own political. So it's we the people that are actually letting Sowore down by not lending our support to him. He's doing his bit. He's giving us all his platform. All the tools we can use to fight back. But we chose not to actually give him the needed support. Because he's given us, he's registered a party, during election, if you want to vote for him, we can channel our energy to that. He's got his revolution side of it, his activism side of it is there. So we are the one that is actually letting Sowore down. So when that man was talking, I was baffled that, what else do you want for him to do? He's given all his energy. His wife is in America, he's in New York. And he's down, he's facing all sorts of brutalization from the federal government. And you see people are not even given. He has even been to many jails more than Sunday Igboho. He's been locked up for more than a year. Sunday Igboho is not even up to 2 months now. So I think we need to actually refocus our energy and see where we can actually support him.
Yes.
We can't. Your nation is not going to be. We can't get this independence in the next 10 years or 15 years or 20 years. It's something that needs to have a plan, a strategy, a roadmap. You can see the total collapse of the idea, Yoruba nation ideology, over one single arrest. So what have they been collecting money from people, donating buses, donating all sorts of making noise online, and a nation can only be gotten through because having a country is a political move itself. So it has to be a political move. We need to actually let our support towards Sowore. Maybe I'm getting this wrong, Mr. Victor. Do you get what I'm saying here?
I get you. I feel you.
It's a political move. So why do we need to deceive ourselves?
In fact, the last caller is agreeing with you. He just dropped a comment now. He said, Mr. Kola, I absolutely agree with you on what Sowore has done to help Yoruba nation. He actually agree with that.
Yes. Yes. It's a political move. We can't get...
That's what I'm saying too. And if we can just put all this energy together in one space and create a proper pressure, we will achieve results than this one, clinical movement, clinical...
So I solely believe that we, Yorubas, or I would probably say the Bash, are the one that actually letting Sowore down because he's got the energy. I would probably say he's got more energy than Sunday Igboho, to be honest. He will lock Sowore up, but this is what he was born to do from his days at Unilag. So he was well schooled in activism. We might not like his way sometimes, but so is somebody who has got his own flaws as well. So if we start picking on people's flaws, then we are not going anywhere. So that's my take on this whole thing. But I just felt I need to chip in and say, you know what? Well, I was really happy when I saw him, and you can see he's full of knowledge. He knows there's this audience. He knows what he's talking about, and he can actually challenge these people in authority compared to those people we have online, giving us propaganda, lies.
That's right.
I find very unpalatable to some things they say sometimes. And
their stomach rumbling.
I can't deal with this kind of set of people. Anyway, God bless you. Take good care of yourself, sir.
Thank you. Well, I hope we get it right one day. I hope we will get it right someday. Ladies and gentlemen, it's such a good time spending with you. Don't forget, we're going to have our last series of redemption sometime this week. I'm not sure when. I'll see you guys. I'm going to be having a very eventful week, so I'm not sure, but I'll let you guys know. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's so good to have you guys. You guys are the best audience anyone will ever pray for. I'll see you again sometime this week. Enjoy the rest of your night. Good night.